Hey, how you doing? The NFL draft is coming up in a couple of months. I'm excited for it. And so because of that, I thought it was a good idea to talk about uh, different positions and the top five guys who I think are the top five at each position in the draft. It's a really good draft, I think. I'll just start by saying that there's a lot of talent at the top. Continues. There will be. It's just there's a ton of talent in this draft from top to bottom. Um, Good depth. Like I said, top talent, good talent at the top. So it's an important draft, especially for the Eagles. Um, so uh, and it's an important draft for the Eagles too. Um, so I thought it would be good to start with linebackers in my rankings because I think that right now the biggest need for the Eagles is linebacker. I think that they will and probably should draft a linebacker in the first round. Um, I think it's their biggest need. Uh, so I'll start with I'll give from 5 to 1 who I think are the best 5 linebackers in this draft, and I will also uh, talk a little about each player and what I think their strengths are. And I also want to say before I start this that the guys who I consider linebackers are anybody who projects as any 4-3 linebacker, inside or outside, and then also 3-4 inside. And then I also have 3-4 outside pass rush linebackers. I classify them as linebackers. Some people use the 3-4 outside guys as defensive end in their rankings. I'm going to have them as linebackers just for the sake of this ranking. Okay, so at 5 in the top 5 linebackers, I have Keenan Robinson from Texas. Robinson's a real nice player. Texas's defense was a lot better this year. They actually had a really good defense, one of the best in the Big 12. Actually, maybe the best. Their offense struggled, but their defense was really good, and Robinson was one of the key players on the defense. They had the new defensive coordinator, Manny Diaz, and he did a good job. As for Robinson in particular, like I said, he's a really nice player. He has good instincts. He makes a ton of tackles, and he can play the run really well. And one of the keys, as we all know, now is in the NFL is for linebackers to be able to cover, because they have to cover with all these tight ends. We all know about the Patriots, Jimmy Graham, Vernon Davis, Jason Witten. So each team's linebackers have to cover him. Eagles fans know that they've over the past couple of years, the Eagles have struggled a bit in some games to cover opposing teams' tight ends. So so Robinson would be a nice player to get because he can cover and does a pretty good job at covering tight ends. Robinson probably projects as a 4-3 strong side linebacker, which fits what the Eagles need. I think that they could use any of the 3 linebackers, but I would say strong and middle are probably their 2 biggest needs, just in terms of the linebackers. So Robinson would fit that. If the Eagles drafted him, they could pencil him in as the strong side linebacker. He's got good size. For all these guys, we'll get their official height and weight at the combine, which comes up in about a week and a half or so. But estimates have Robinson at about 6'3", 245, which is good size. Big enough where he can take on blockers, stop the run. But like I said, he is quick enough and has the cover skills to cover other teams' tight ends. So he's a really good prospect. I think he'll probably go somewhere in the 2nd round, 3rd round, somewhere in that range. So the Eagles probably wouldn't have to use their 1st-round pick on Robinson. I think he does have 1st-round talent, actually. I think he is that good. I really like Robinson. It's somebody the Eagles should consider taking, because I think, like I said, he could step in and make a lot of tackles, and that's something the Eagles need with the wide 9, somebody to just plug in a linebacker and be able to make those tackles against the run, take on blockers, because the linebacker will be able to have to take on guards in the wide 9, shed them, and make the tackle. Something Robinson can do. He can also cover. So he's a definitely got to look out for. He's a nice little player. The fourth guy I have is Zach Brown, linebacker from UNC. Brown is a very intriguing prospect. If you get a chance, look up some highlights of this guy. He's very quick or fast for a linebacker. I think he was the quickest guy, or was the fastest guy on defense for UNC last year, a Matt linebacker, which is impressive. And like I just talked about covering tight ends, if you want a linebacker to cover tight ends, Zach Brown's probably your guy. He's a track guy at linebacker, which is unusual, and he can really run. We'll see what he runs at the combine. I think he runs about a 4.45, which is really, really good for a linebacker. He is undersized, which could be a problem. The Eagles have been known to draft undersized guys, so in that sense, we might need to get like a big physical guy come in, but Brown is just a really good prospect. I like looking at it just because of his athleticism. I mean, he is undersized. Like I talked about, he's about 230 pounds. So I don't know if the Eagles will want to plug him in a weak side linebacker. He probably could play this strong. He might have to beef up a little. But the nice thing about Brown is his speed. I mean, he can cover on sideline to sideline. And then he would also be a very good special teams player because of his kickoff, punt return. So he's a guy to keep an eye on. He's a fun guy to watch on highlights. In the UNC games, he's fun to watch just because he can be out of the picture and then race in. And it's kind of weird that because he was one of the fastest guys on their defense, like I talked about at linebacker. It's fairly unusual. So he's a high reward, and I probably would argue high risk player as well, just because he's undersized. He might get beat up a little bit at linebacker in the NFL. But I think even at worst, if he is just can't play the run, you could put him in a weak side. The Eagles' weak side linebacker towards the end of the year was Brian Roll. I think Brown's actually bigger than Brian Roll is. So, and then also, like I just talked about, Brown would be a great player to have on special teams. Anyway, so Brown, I don't know if I would use our first on him. A lot of people are saying that just because of Brown's athleticism, he probably will go somewhere in the first. So, I'm not sure I would take him at 15 though, where the Eagles picking the first round. Maybe trade down and take him. That would be ideal. So we'll see what happens with Brown, but keep an eye on this guy. He's good. The third guy I have is Melvin Ingram from South Carolina. This is one of those guys who probably projects as a 3-4 outside linebacker, pass rushing. So in that sense, he's probably not a target for the Eagles. But I still put him in the rankings just because he's a really dynamic player. He's a great pass rusher, first of all, and he's got really good size. He's about 280, but he scored a bunch of touchdowns for South Carolina this year on fumble returns. It was kind of weird, whether you call it skill or luck, whatever, that he found the ball so many times and took it in the end zone. But he's almost freakishly athletic for his size. He's one of those guys that can really impress you with his combination there. If the Eagles did wind up drafting him, I don't think he would play linebacker for the Eagles because his strength is pass rushing, so the Eagles could play him at defensive end in the 4-3. I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that. I think his strength is the 3-4 outside, but he could play 4-3 defensive end. So Melvin Ingram third, just impressive player right there. And then second linebacker I have, second best linebacker is Courtney Upshaw, linebacker from Alabama. He's another one of the guys who projects as a 3-4 outside pass rusher. He was a great pass rusher from Alabama. I mean, this guy Alabama runs the 3-4, and they kind of play a multiple defense. So he lined up his 3-4 outside, standing up. He had his hand in the ground. He rushed. He also played the run pretty well. He breaks down. He's great in space. You saw him in the national championship make a couple of nice plays on the edge against Jordan Jefferson. He's a really impressive player. He's another guy who has a great combination of size and speed. He can get after the quarterback. If the Just from an Eagles perspective, if they did draft him, he would probably project as a 4-3 defensive end in the Eagles system. They probably wouldn't play him at the linebacker in the Eagles system, but he's a guy who would fit what a team like the Steelers do with their 3-4 outside linebackers. Where he's Upshaw's a guy who you want coming upfield. You don't necessarily want him moving backwards. You want him coming straight forward, straight after the quarterback, making plays in the backfield. Upshaw is a guy who lives in the backfield. I mean, put on Alabama defensive tape and look out for number 41, Upshaw, because he lives in the backfield. I talked about in a lot of my college football videos this past season that Alabama had the best defense in the country. There were games this year where, actually, really in most games, but where it was tough to gain yards on Alabama, and Upshaw, and my next guy is a quick hint, but Upshaw was one of the main reasons, just because you had to get by this guy just to gain a yard. I mean, he was upfield right away, just making plays, terrorizing the quarterback, terrorizing the running back right after he got the handoff. So Upshaw, whoever gets this guy, the teams that they play, look out for number 41, because he'll be in the backfield making plays. I can guarantee you that. I think whatever team gets him, it's a slam dunk pick. He'll be making plays in the backfield, guaranteed. So Courtney Upshaw, great player from Alabama. And the number 1 linebacker I have, and I think he is a slam dunk for the Eagles at 15, to draft at 15, is Donta Hightower, linebacker from Alabama. I love Donta Hightower. He was number 30 on Alabama's defense. He was right in the middle on Alabama's defense at linebacker. Like I said, the best defense in the country this past year. He's just really unbelievable, the stuff that he does. He's about 6'4", 276. He runs sideline to sideline. He takes on offensive linemen, shreds the block, makes the play. You can have him coming upfield. He can play north-south in the sense that he can rush the passer. He on a lot of plays for Alabama and in pass rush situations, he would put his hand in the ground, rush the passer. He can do that. He really, his natural position is inside linebacker. Like I said, he has great lateral movement. He can run sideline to sideline. If the Eagles drafted him, he could play 4-3 inside. I think that's probably would be his most natural position for the Eagles. But I think he could play 4-3 strong side as well. So if the Eagles drafted him, where would they put him? Probably a strong side or in the middle. He's just a great player, phenomenal player. I love Hightower. So I think he will be available for the Eagles at 15. If the Eagles are picking at 15 and he's on the board, I say pick him, no-brainer, pick him, plug him in on day one at either in the middle or on the strong side, and he'll be a stud linebacker for the next 10 years. I really do think that this guy is that kind of talent. He's really good. Watch a tape of an Alabama game or his highlights or whatever, you'll see how good this guy is. He's just remarkable, the stuff he does. And I think he would solve a lot of the Eagles' problems on defense. The Eagles would go from a team with needs a linebacker to having one of the best linebacker corps in the league if they got Hightower. He's really that good. So those are my top 5 linebackers. I'm going to do this video for every position. Like I said, I think right now the biggest need for the Eagles is linebacker, so that's why I decided to, for my first video, talk about these linebackers. And this is actually a really good linebacker class, which is good for the Eagles because they need 1, 2, maybe even 3 linebackers in this draft. So there's a lot of other good linebackers outside of these 5 guys that the Eagles will definitely be looking at potentially the draft. But these are my 5 favorite guys. So thanks for watching. See you next time for the positions in the 2012 NFL Draft.